Hello, campaigners. John Bose here, one of the co-hosts of the Campaign Rundown podcast, the podcast that's about all things election campaigns. I'm coming at you with a campaign theory tip that's specifically about what you do with all those voter IDs you've been working so hard to get during the outreach process. This tip looks at the last 30 days and how you use that information to win elections. So let's check out the tip. So when we're talking about our election, we have our campaign that is working to elect a candidate. Now, our campaign is out talking to voters and interacting with them, trying to get a conversation started about our candidate. Now, if you're running a grassroots campaign, this is happening in the form of voters actually talking with your supporters, your thought leaders in the community. If we're talking about a media campaign, this is an advertising campaign that's basically portraying your candidate in a specific way that you've determined based on your micro-targeting. Now, regardless, you've got to figure out where this voter is going to end up. So basically, what you want to do is take a look at each voter you make contact with and rate them on whether or not they're going to support you, or if they're not going to support you and are supporting the opponent. Now, to keep track of this, there's a gray area in between, which we call the persuadable universe. Everyone uses the same coding system. It's called the GOTV coding system. And the GOTV coding system assigns each person on a 5-point scale an actual number. So if this person is supporting you, they get assigned the number 1. If, on the other hand, they are not supporting you, they get assigned the number 5. In between is what we call the persuadable universe. So anyone that is thinking of supporting you, maybe they've heard of your candidate but aren't ready to commit, maybe they're a member of the same party as your candidate, well, they get assigned a number 2. Anyone that's leaning away from your candidate, meaning that they haven't said they're not going to vote for your candidate, but they don't agree on some of the issues, maybe they're a member of the other party, who knows? They've basically not committed yet and are definitely leaning away from you. That gets a number 4. Now, here's the reality. Most people do not fall into one of these two groups. Most people have lives and they're out doing stuff. So pretty much most of the universe is going to fall into this last group, which is the number 3s. Those are undecided voters that aren't involved with politics and haven't made a decision yet. So they're open to be persuaded. So 1 and 5 are your hardcore, these people are definitely voting for you. 2 and 4 are people who are leaning in one direction or other. And 3 are people who have not made their mind up yet. Now, what we do is we take the 1s and 2s and we call those supporters. The 4s and 5, we call detractors. And we group them together. So anyone that's supporting you, we group them as one group. And anyone that's not supporting you, we group as the opposing group. Now, the reason we do this is when we get to 30 days away from the election, we stop and we take a look at the database. And I want to stress this. I say this to everyone. When you're recording supporters and detractors, it is important to understand that a 5 is as good as a 1. Because what happens is you run straight out identifying supporters. Anyone that's a supporter is automatically taken out of the voter universe and listed as a supporter. That means that they'll be recruited for possible donations or maybe volunteer opportunities. But you'll stop reaching out to them for voter contact. Anyone that's listed as a detractor, that's just as valuable because anyone who's not supporting you also gets pulled out of the universe. And when that happens, that basically saves the campaign money. Remember, you want to spend all your time and resources up until 30 days before the election trying to find anyone who has not been contacted and making contact with the undecideds. Now, you get to 30 days before the election. You're going to have a basic math problem. And math problem is simple. X representing the number of people who are supporting you. Then Y representing the number of people who are detracting, not supporting you. You basically want to find the math equation, which is, if I subtract X from Y, get the difference, what does that equal? And what it has to equal is it has to equal 50% plus 1, meaning that you need a majority of the X's to be more than the Y's. You need a majority of the actual constituents to be supporting your candidate 30 days out. Now, let's say you don't get that. Let's say you do not have a 50 plus 1 majority. Then that's when the persuasion universe comes into play. We'll call that Z. And what you're going to do is change the equation slightly. You're going to spend all your time contacting these threes and trying to convince them to come on board. And you're going to hope to God that you get this equation. Z plus X minus Y equals 50% plus 1. Very important you understand this. Rating codes are 1 through 5. It's not a good idea for volunteers who are doing the IDs or an automated system that's doing the IDs to move people in the side that they want. Meaning that if I talk to you, I'm more likely to want you to be a 1 than a 5. That's not the way this works. If you get a 5, that means the person gets pulled out of the database. It also means when you do this calculation, it's a lot more accurate. Remember, a 1 is as good as a 5. So this is the voter database. Rating everyone from 1 to 5. 1 is a supporter, 2 is leaning towards, 3 is undecided, normal human, 4 is leaning away, 5 is supporting the other guy. All this information goes into the database. You do your calculation 30 days out, and the next part of this